The central government has been focusing a lot on indigenous semiconductor design, and tomorrow in Bengaluru, the second Semicon India Future Design Roadshow will also be launched. Joining me today to speak about semiconductor design and as well as other policy concerns is Minister of State for Skill Development, Entrepreneurship, as well as Electronics and Technology, Rajeev Chandrasekhar. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to Moneycontrol. Can you tell us about how many companies have signed up for the DLI, as well as is there going to be any focus on helping semiconductor design startups in particular?
No, look. So first of all, the big backstory on this has to be well understood. You know that post-COVID there is almost a redrawing of the semiconductor world order, and there is a new semiconductor world order that is emerging post-COVID, and same is the same for the electronic space as well. Now, both these areas, the Honorable Prime Minister has laid the marker down that India needs to be and will be an important part of both the supply chain of electronics and semiconductors as well as the innovation ecosystem on semiconductors and electronics. So it is in this context that in 2021 December, when the Prime Minister launched the Semicon India program backed with 76,000 crores of funding support from the Government of India, one of the big elements of that was the issue of creating future design capabilities in India for chips of the future. The next generation of semiconductor design, next generation of IC chip design must come out of India. The IP for that should be co-owned, if not owned by Indian startups. And for that, we have designed a program called the Future Design DLI, Semicon India Future Design DLI scheme. And a large number of startups have applied, and we are going through a screening process where the best and the brightest of these startups get Government of India funding directly. And so in tomorrow's program, you will see that the next batch of startups that have been selected are being announced, and we will have, I think, by March 23, almost 20 to 25 semiconductor startups that have all been created in the last 2 to 3 years.
What are the use cases we think we can build for in India in particular?
I think the way to look at this is not use cases as in systems design. The world of compute, the world of semiconductors is rapidly evolving into going from generic CPUs. It has over the last decade moved to GPUs and TPUs. And now increasingly with AI, digitization, and with data intensity in applications and in the space, the digital economy space, there is more and more requirement for specific domain-specific ICs and SoCs and ASICs, and these startups are really aimed at addressing those systems and the system requirements in electronics and the broader framework of automotive, compute, and mobility.
Okay. A lot of people, it's believed that in semicon design in particular, are Indians who are usually based abroad. Is there a plan to say attract this talent back to India and help them start up over here?
No, there is already in India around 80,000 engineers that are today working for all of the big majors in semiconductors. This morning I announced, I inaugurated a center that is a TCS Renaissance center that is focused a lot on automotive silicon and automotive semiconductors. So there are a large number of companies, and almost every global semiconductor major is in India today and is getting things designed. Recently there was an announcement by Qualcomm where they said 100 designs had come out of India. They had just finished the 100 design. So I think that ecosystem of talent already exists. We are now basically encouraging talent to create startups and make sure that the next generation of devices are not just designed in India, but also IP owned in India or co-owned in India. So that is a very strategic imperative, very important objective in terms of the next year in terms of the pivot of the semiconductor ecosystem in India, and that is what we are focused on.
Okay. What kind of support will colleges get to train students in semiconductor design? And will it also be included in the government's tech scaling plans as well?
Absolutely. We have a very hard work, a team led by Jaya Jagdish of AMD, consisting of all of the top minds in the semiconductor space, working with our own higher education, AICTE and IIT professors, have worked out a comprehensive curriculum where almost 85,000 engineers will be trained in the semiconductor domain in the next 2 years, ranging from VLSI engineers to master's and postdoctoral work in semiconductor research to certification for the manufacturing industry and packaging and verification industry. So comprehensive framework of curriculum reforms has been authored. It has been handed over to the AICTE, and AICTE will implement it from this academic year itself. So from the 23-24 academic year, the Indian higher education system and the skilling ecosystem will start focusing on creating and producing world-class semiconductor engineers and semiconductor technicians.
On the semiconductor PLI front, have we zeroed in on how many firms have got the PLI, and are there any other challenges on that front?
PLI in semiconductor, there is a capital subsidy program for the semiconductor fab. Those are being evaluated still. At least two of those applicants in the fab space aren't qualified or could not be qualified because in at least one case, the Tower Intel case, because they are going through an acquisition by Intel, they cannot proceed forward at this stage. So while that proposal is still on hold, it is not something that we will be able to review and comment on in the short term till the Intel Tower acquisition closes. The other proposal is the Vedanta Foxconn proposal that is under active consideration, and I suspect very soon we'll be in a position to decide on whether that proposal goes forward or not.
Shifting gears here a little bit, a few many lending apps were recently blocked. Some were unblocked as well after that. Can you shed some light on what happened on that front, and whether it ties to China, etc.?
No, look, there is no decision that the government takes that is geography based. If applications or apps or websites or content is taken down, they're taken down purely through the prism of user harm or security and national sovereignty risks as they are evaluated by different ministries. And these applications were evaluated, and they, as is the normal course, they all have a right to appeal. And if certain applications were taken down because of some infirmities, they are always allowed to appeal once those infirmities are cured. And that is a process that the government of India has always undertaken, and it will continue.
The government has been exploring the paths of self-regulation for fake news. You also met a couple of social media companies last week. How will this self-regulatory mechanism work, and what happens if social media companies cannot reach a consensus on how this would
we have never said self-regulation for fake news. Today, the IT rules make it mandatory that if any social media intermediary or any intermediary wants to enjoy the Section 69 safe haven, that is immunity from prosecution for content on its platform, then they have some obligations vis-a-vis the content that they host on the platform. So if they abide by those conditions, they are immune from prosecution. If they don't abide by those conditions, then they are open to be prosecuted by whoever is who is the victim of the content that's on the platform. The conversation we had recently was about fact checkers, and we intend that the government information is fact checked by the PIB, and that for the private sector, we must evolve a regime of trusted fact checkers. So in that context, it was suggested by somebody in the industry that instead of the government deciding who the trusted fact checker is, that the industry form a self-regulatory body that would then certify who a trusted fact checker could be. And I said, yes, we are open to that conversation. As long as the industry comes back with something that is workable, we are absolutely open to a self-regulated body that, in a sense, certifies who a trusted fact checker can be and who cannot be.
Okay. There has been concerns about the age, like the definition of the age of children, that, that's people below the age of 18. There have been concerns on that front. Is the government looking to rephrase that definition to address some concerns?
I think you're talking about this from a point of view of the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill. the age in the Digital Data Protection Bill is 18, and anything below that requires parental consent. It is a difficult issue on which to get consensus, because there are people who believe children should be trusted enough to take their own decisions from an early age of 14. And there are people who believe no, that there are platforms that exploit children, and therefore children should be protected from those platforms. It is a difficult balance to draw. I think we will agree that it will be at 18 to start with, and it will be certainly reviewed very frequently to see if there are certain platforms that are creating safe spaces for children, in which case those platforms can be given lower ages for children, versus some platforms who are not going to be who are going to be continuing the exploitative practices of children, who will have a higher bar for children. So that is broadly the thinking in the government as we go forward.
Okay. When can we see the DPDP bill being brought into Parliament? And also, is there a possibility it'll get referred to a parliamentary committee as well?
No, look, the consultation is complete. I think we have a absolutely world-class legislation that is being seen by everybody as a path-breaking legislation. Now the process of the government is a process that the government has to go through, and I hope that it is legislated very quickly, so that the people of India can have this world-class data protection bill that they deserve.
ChatGPT and conversational AI is all the rage now. How is the government looking to address the artificial intelligence related concerns, like algorithmic accountability, etc.?
Yeah, no, so it's a known issue. We know it. We know that there are many challenges in the innovation ecosystem, and I have pointed to and I've suggested or hinted or indeed emphatically made known that around the corner we will have a Digital India Act, which is a contemporary new legislation that will supersede the IT Act, which is, as you know, 22 years old. And the Digital India Act will take care of a lot of these issues, including the issues and risks of emerging technologies like AI.
Do we have a timeline for when the bill will be introduced?
We are working flat out. As you know, we have done a lot in the last 1 year. Online gaming is around the corner. DPDP is around the corner. We will have the DIA as early as we can, but without compromising our commitment to having extensive public consultation and engagement before a bill is legislated.
Thank you so much for speaking to Moneycontrol, sir.